What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. It's Sunday morning. We're still in LA, me and my wife. We're headed down to Venice Beach today to hang out with her family and, just not do any motorcycle shit for a day, I think is the goal or the plan. And then we're going to be breaking out of here at 3 a.m., I think. We're going to try to leave before Monday morning traffic and try to get outside of LA, try to get to Phoenix as soon as possible. Which, honestly, if you're hearing this, then I'm probably already almost home because I think we're going to be releasing this on Tuesday. So, at any rate, man, this trip has been a blast, man. You know, I've really had a great time. I've been stopping by shops. You know, we've been really kicking around the idea of like expanding our shop down in Dallas and turning it into something, you know, a lot bigger than what it is, and going around and seeing people's operations and talking to them and hearing some of their stories and some of their insights on what's been beneficial for them and seeing how they present their businesses has been great. Like I stopped in to see the straight up dudes over there. I think his name is Roger up at Slab Sides 01. I mean, dude's just the shop just looks dope. I mean, it's in a great location. He's branding it awesome. I mean, I liked it. I liked being there. I kind of didn't want to leave. You know what I mean? But shout out to those dudes over there for shooting the shit with us for a minute. We didn't do a podcast, but, you know, it was just cool getting to know the guy and stuff like that. But same thing, you know, down here I came and hung out with, Silent G again and saw the dudes from Valley Customs and Don and, you know, finally met, the Manic Crew guy. I still don't remember his name. It's kind of fucked up, but true story. Yeah, and I met some other artists that I've been a big fan of, you know, that were there at Valley Customs as well. You know, LG, the dude's a fucking amazing striper and letterer and does a lot of cool shit. I've always been a huge fan of his work. And then Headcase just kind of came. He's been in the game for a minute, man. Painter, badass dude, building bikes, painting bikes, did a lot of shit. He's been doing it for a long time, and he just kind of came into my radar. You know, recently he did a sick ass Dyna paint job that I just was in love with. It was like a white and blue and a silver leaf, and man, I just loved the flow of that bike. And then started following him and checking out a lot of his work, and man, I was blown away. I mean, the dude's majorly talented. So all in all, it's been a good trip down here, man. Kind of like being here. I went and saw my buddy Paul Lindahl, or Paul from Lindahl Brakes. We shot the shit, talked a lot, you know, kind of caught up. He just showed me his operation out here and gave me some advice, you know, business advice. You know, I kind of confided a few of my ideas and worries into him, and, you know, it was a good conversation. So, yeah, I'm honestly ready to be home, man. I'm really ready to get back to work. I know I have a ton of customers and a ton of helmets and a ton of things to do, and I'm bringing a shit ton more work back. And, you know, I'm pretty excited about, you know, just getting to work and start working on all these ideas that I've kind of created over this trip. So really looking forward to that. Yeah, man, I'm fucking ready to be home. It's crazy. But, you know, fuck it. I'll get there sooner or later. Nothing's gonna, you know, whatever. It's vacation. You're supposed to be having a good time, right? Anyway, also, you know, don't forget, we got to do our sponsors and stuff. I'm not trying to be like drowsy right now. It's just super early in the morning. And it's just early in the morning. Like I haven't even had any Monster yet or nothing. So sorry, guys. Anyway, Texas Performance, man. You know, as always, check Mark out. Texas Performance MC, Cedar Park, Texas. If you're down and around, I know my brother just went down there and bought a lot of shit for his Dyna, who he still has not gotten. That shit is just crazy. And it's not the fault of the guys that we bought the bike from. It's not their fault. Those dudes are good friends of mine. I love those guys to death. These motorcycle shipping companies are just fucking out of hand. Like, that's just absolutely retarded. You know? Absolutely retarded. I would have rather just drove up there and picked it up my damn self than wait a month and a half to get a fucking motorcycle delivered from 900 miles away. It's bullshit. Anyway, Mark from Texas Performance, check him out. Full service dyno tuning and performance. I mean, he's got it all there. You know, you don't need to go anywhere else as far as like performance, dyno tuning, service work, custom work. Me and Mark work together, and you get all that good shit. Anyway. Also, don't forget about Paint Huffer Metal Flake, painthuffer.com, Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG. We're actually going to be talking to him it's Sunday, so it'll be tomorrow. But you won't hear this till Tuesday, so it's real weird right now. Anyway, Paint Huffer Metal Flake, follow him, man. I'm about to go buy a shit ton of flake from him. I need a lot of pearls. I need to start adding a lot more pearl to my paint palette. You know what I mean? I think I've been beating the flake thing down to death and doing what I'm doing. So, and candies and stuff. And I really want to change it up a little bit and add some more elements to it and give our customers, a little bit of a variety of ways that we can do the style of paint work that we've been, doing recently. So, going to be stopping through there, picking up as much shit as I can fit in my truck and hauling it all back to Dallas. So, check him out, Paint Huffer Metal Flake on IG, painthuffer.com. You can order all the good shit that I'm about to buy. So, anyway. Also, don't forget about Horsepower Inc., horsepowerinc.net. Also on Instagram, Horsepower Inc. Man, it seems like they've been, dude, like, I'm so excited to go meet these guys and so excited to see their operation, man. I'm really looking forward to it. If you're up there in Cincinnati, not Cincinnati, Indianapolis, sorry, I'm tripping. It's early. Indianapolis, they're out that way. I mean, if you can listen to a podcast, you can look up Google and find out where the fuck they're at. That's pretty much how that works, right? Now, they're in, I think it's West India, I think is where it's at. They're known for big bore throttle bodies, high performance tuning, building, all that good shit, man. And I'm looking forward to it. I kind of wish that, I was building a fuel injected bike right now because I'd love to use their services and see what they can kind of squeeze out of some of my small motor stuff I do. But anyway, check them out, horsepowerinc.net. Their products are I believe you can look at all their products on there, do all that shit. I think they're coming out with a lot of new shit too. I don't know. I'm just kind of going off what I've seen on their Instagram. But of course they do dyno tuning and performance work as far as like motors and all that good shit. So they're a good place. They're basically the Texas Performance of Indianapolis, or I would say the Northeast Great Lakes area. I don't know what the fuck. It's early. Sorry guys. Just check them out. Horsepowerinc.net, Horsepower Inc. Indy on Facebook, and Horsepower Inc. on Instagram. Check them out. Let them know you heard about them through the podcast. I'm really appreciative of these guys coming through and sponsoring these podcasts because it helps pay for a lot of shit. So we appreciate it greatly. Also, don't forget about us. I think we just got another Patreon subscriber, which is awesome. So I appreciate that. Let me see if I can look up his Falconberry Designs. Wow, thanks, dude. $10. You're the man. Appreciate that. If you want to help this thing roll, man, check it out. You go to our webpage, fastlifegarage.com. On the front page, there's going to be a Patreon button. There's going to be a YouTube button. There's going to be a Instagram, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you are already on that. There's everything that we do is on that front page, and you can kind of see how you could help us, whether you just go on YouTube and subscribe, or you go to Patreon and donate, or whatever you can do to help spread this thing or help keep it rolling. It's all fucking awesome, and we appreciate that shit. So check that out. And this podcast, man, I'm kind of happy to get it on. It's good. I think it's good, and it's a lot of good, informative stuff, and I hope not contradicting things from myself. So I got Jeff Holt on, a former editor of Hot Bike Magazine. He's got a shit ton of stuff that he's still working on, still trying to make happen, and it was kind of good to just get him on the podcast and hear kind of like what it was like being in his shoes with all the all the things that he was approached with every day from even guys like me, you know what I mean, wanting our stuff in the magazine and wanting the opportunities that he was kind of more or less the gatekeeper on. So it was good to get him on and hear his story as far as like the recent things and where he's taking things now and where it's going. So, I'm really excited about this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So here you go.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Yeah, and then you can adjust everything on here too and make it sound good, and then all that stuff. But
That's fucking rad, dude.
all right, man, we're going.
Cool.
What's up, dude?
Nada, man. What's up with you?
Just fuck, man, I'm tired of driving.
Yeah, bad, dude.
It's a lot. Like I just crossed over 3,000 miles on the way over here.
Dude, you've been everywhere, man. You're
Yeah.
part of the Jeff Holt club now, man. Different spot every weekend.
I think the coolest part is when you like go out of town a lot and you're hanging out with the same dudes in different parts of the country, so it's kind of weird.
I like that a lot, and I also like when you're hanging out or when you go to an event and you only see certain people from that event only once a year.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? That's cool too. You know, it's just seeing people, dude. I mean, that's why we do.
I mean, that's what you want. You want to go out of town and just kind of get to know the people that don't get to travel as much.
Right.
But it's so easy. Like you see some homies that like you were just kicking it with in Arizona. You're like, oh fuck, let's go do this together.
It's crazy, dude. I love doing that shit, man. I mean, that's being able to do it all over the world too is crazy. You know, I'm really
dude.
lucky, man.
That shit is wild. You know,
Yeah.
watching your stuff. So man, like like I was just saying to you, dude. Like, let's take it back. Let's go back to wherever you
Way
want to
back.
start. You know what I mean? Like,
kind of the whole. I'll give you like the whole synopsis of how I got
do
into
it.
motorcycles. First of all, my dad in 1976-5 got in a motorcycle accident and is paralyzed from the waist down. So I was forbidden to ride motorcycles.
yeah,
Like I didn't get to ride little 50s when I was a kid or nothing. And it just goes to show that you can't tell me not to do something or I will make it my life's work.
yeah,
So, I mean, a lot of people that know me know this story, but, you know, I was never like a preteen or anything riding around on dirt bikes or anything. When I was in high school, I was always in the bicycle thing. Like I raced mountain bikes, BMX, anything that was close to riding motorcycles that my parents would let me do. But I got in with these dudes, this guy Mike Miller and some other dudes, and they all rode Vespas and Lambrettas in the 80s. They were like mod dudes or ska dudes or whatever. And I was always a punk rock kid, but on the weekends at this mall, they would play the Who Quadrophenia, which was like a mod movie, and we'd go over there and steal all their Vespas. And so we would have, 4 or 5 Vespas in my buddy Mike Miller's dad's garage any given time.
yeah.
Swapping plates and just taking parts off of them. And I had this one that was all different colors from all different bikes. And
Yeah.
just rode that Vespa, rode the wheels off of it. I used to hide it behind my house and like push it down the alley and start it and all that stuff. And then it just graduated up from that to wanting a Harley. Like these other dudes that I hung out with when I was like probably 19 and 20, they had Harleys. They were these cool punk rock dudes with Harleys, FLHs and stuff. So I got one off this dude and ended up just fucking around with it. It was a shovel head, dude, a cone shovel. So you had to work on it to make sure if you
keep
wanted
it
to
on the
ride
road.
it.
Yeah.
So long story short, 10 years of doing that, and I built a couple bikes just as a hobby while I worked in the bicycle industry.
What
And
were you doing in the bicycle industry? I know you're pretty deep in that shit.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I ended. It was kind of funny. When I was 12, almost 13 years old, me and my buddy stole a couple bikes from these rich kids, and we couldn't get the cranks off. So we took them to the bike shop to get the cranks off. And then one of the kids' moms showed up. Like the dude at the bike shop totally dimed us out.
For real.
And I thought we were going to go to jail and all this shit. And then the dude at the bike shop, his name was Steve Ames, his mom owned it and he managed it. He was like, hey, man, what about if we put the bike together and he works it off, the shit that we sold. And the lady was cool with that. And I ended up working at that bike shop for 5 years. And then from there, I worked at another bike shop that was mountain bikes only when the mountain bike thing was huge. And I got to deal with Jody Wiesel and Zapata Espinosa from Mountain Bike Action and Motocross Action and Dirt Wheels. And just kind of gained a reputation of I was never really great at racing bikes, but I could fix anything.
Yeah.
So I race prep stuff. I've designed tires. I worked in the industry as a sales rep, as a R&D guy, as a tire cutter for world champions, tire designer, product development, quality control. I mean, I was going to Asia like every quarter. Like I was as deep into the bicycle thing as you could. I mean, I worked for Tioga, Shimano, Time, like big companies.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. But I was an independent guy, doing just companies. It was the time the X Games was huge, you know? So I kind of slid over into that, and then that kind of started to fade at the top level. And this dude Courtney Hallowell, who was the editorial director of Hot Bike, Baggers, and Street Chopper at the time, was a friend of a friend, and we became pretty good friends. And he knew what I did. Like, I could take photos, I can write. You know, I wasn't, you know, great by any means. But
you could do it.
I could do it. And it was kind of funny. Like, I grew up, you know, I had developmental issues. I'm highly dyslexic. They didn't know I'm left-handed. Typical all the signs, but back in the 70s and 80s, nobody fucking knew. So, they didn't diagnose me with being dyslexic till I was in the 7th grade. I was just lazy, didn't apply myself, couldn't, you know, D's. And I went to, after school, I'd go to therapy and, like, type into this green screen IBM shitbox, like, first generation computer, and learn how to not transpose letters and numbers. But I mean, I joke with people, you know, I was the editor of the top motorcycle magazine in the world, and I'm dyslexic as hell.
I'm dyslexic as fuck.
Yet another thing, you know, like, you know, everything, the odds have always been against me, dude. I was just some dirtbag punk rock kid. Like,
so what area, like, I mean, I always see you up here in the LA Metroplex, or whatever you call it.
I mean, you know, I live in LA now, but I was an Orange County kid, you know, grew up in Anaheim, a mile from Disneyland. Moved over, stayed with my sister in England for a little while, moved up to San Francisco for a little while, lived in the Northwest for a while during the big grunge era. That was a lot of fun. And as a matter of fact, I was up there doing this thing when Courtney called me, and he was like, hey, man, you know, what about coming down, and what about this, and what about that? And I was like, nah. And then a couple years later, I met this chick, and we had a baby, and then he hit me back up to do Street Chopper. And I was like, oh, cool, you know. I was building the Panhead at the time, and you know, whatever. He knew I knew how to work on bikes. You know, I was really strong at working on bikes and, you know, okay at the words and photos. So he took me under his wing, and God bless him. I mean, he's not with us anymore. He passed away, but that guy made sure that I was taken care of, man. And it was a great story. Like, I was just this dude that rode, you know, choppers, and the first day, he's like, hey, man, I need you to ride this bagger for Baggers to do a photo shoot. It was like a brand new 07 Ultra. Every fucking thing on it. So I rode it up the street. You know, I had a full outfit on. I never wore a helmet or any of that shit, dude. You know, I had a brain bucket. So I rode this thing up this 2-lane highway, turned it around, tapped the front brake, and fucking just yard sailed the thing. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to lose my job. Oh, shit, I'm going to lose my job. Oh, shit, the first day. And I had, like, Superman strength. I just picked that fucking thing up like a dirt bike and rode it back down. And we took the photo shoot, did all the other shit that day. And, like, at the end of the day, I told him, he's like, what? And, man, he never let me live that down.
Wow.
So, I mean, fast forward, you know, I just kind of worked my way up through the ranks, you know. I worked for Street Chopper and then Baggers, and then became, you know, the dude at Hot Bike, you know, and I started at the bottom on all of them as you know, like associate editor, and then the editor, and then the editor in chief. So, what was like when you came into the magazine stuff back then? Like, how was the, you know, we talk about this a lot in this podcast, but I've always told people how much, like, I grew up in the 90s where magazines was our only connection to what the fuck was going on in the world. So, I mean, from the skateboard shit I did when a kid to the lowrider shit to the, you know, the tuner cars and then the motorcycles, it's always been magazines, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's times change, you know. Nothing's ever the same.
So how was it like then though when you came into it, as far as like they were strong as fuck then, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we were the number one, you know, as far as Hot Bike, Baggers. And I mean, you could do no wrong back then. Yeah. You know, you had AOL, you're just doing email and barely any sites.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was crazy. Like, right before I started, you know, like, 03, 04, 05, like, that shit was huge. Like, Hot Bike was over 300 pages. Like, it looked like a catalog, you know, you know, I think there's maybe 2% of the people that are still around that had ads in that mag. Like, there was 7 editors, you know. It's, like, crazy. Yeah. And it was good, you know, but in 07, 08, you know, that shit kind of But, I mean, as far as Harleys go, magazines are cheap. I mean, back then, I think they were $4.99, $3.99. They were cheap. They were plentiful. The newsstands were huge. I mean, now you can't even find a newsstand.
Yeah,
go to 7-Eleven. There's just nothing in there. No Tower Records. You know.
You can find some nudie magazines. That's about it.
That's it. And weed magazines and lowrider magazines.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was huge. It was a lot of fun. I ended up, traveling the world on somebody else's credit card account. That was pretty awesome early on.
Yeah.
But I did it because I had a kid. And I was like, man, I need this insurance. And I got hired October. And then, of course, in December, we had new insurance and it was shitty.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, but I already was hooked. Like, there was no two ways, being that it's a rock star job, man. I mean, people know that. Like, I'm very thankful, and it's a lot of work, but it is a cool job, and a lot of people, look up to you.
It's hard being the gatekeeper to something like that, isn't it?
It really is. Like, I've always been like a dude that just barges shit and doesn't really give a fuck, but I grew up real quick, having to keep your mouth shut about things and to not, deal with people that necessarily you don't like what they're doing, but you need to give them a fair shake and, just be fair to everybody. That was my whole deal. My job is a mirror to what's going on in motorcycling.
Yeah.
And that was the way I approached it. Like, a lot of editors are like, it's my way or the highway. Like, I'm this guy in this tower and I'm telling you all what's going on. And I was never that way. Like, yeah, we were ahead of a lot of stuff, and my personal taste, I'm telling you, I tell people over and over, and it's just the plain facts. There was nobody wheeling dynas on any fucking magazine. There was no panel painted FXRs. There was none of that shit till I started that shit in hot bike. Mm-hmm. But I didn't start it. I didn't paint those bikes. I wasn't doing that. Like, I just exposed what was going on. Mm-hmm. It wasn't all fucking Softails and baggers, man. Like, and I'm stoked that I had a big part of bringing that section out.
Yeah.
Just like, there's a dude, Ed Subius, and he's been my right-hand man, my best friend, and he worked for me for a while. And he was one of the guys instrumental in getting that flat track stuff back out and doing that hooligan stuff, and I wasn't really into that competition because I raced BMX 3 nights a fucking week, for 10 years. I burned out on competition.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's why I liked Harleys.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a race. It wasn't this, wasn't that. I dealt with mountain bikers and road bikers. I did the Tour de France, as a tire guy, like all this shit, like competition. So I wasn't into it, but Ed really pushed me at Hot Bike to be part of that. And, he's worked for Harley. He's done a bunch of stuff with Indian, he's ridden everything. He's one of the only guys that's ever thrown a leg over Jared Meese's race bike and took it out in the dirt.
Yeah. Like,
the dude is amazing. And he he brought that part into it. I mean, with Hot Bike, it's a catch-all magazine for V-twin bikes. And that was what was really cool. Baggers was just baggers, and Street Chopper was just choppers. But when you're allowed to kind of encompass all the cool custom things, you have a really good job, and it's a lot more fun and versatile, and you meet a lot more people in the scene.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you said it perfectly, and it's kind of like something that I think a lot of us, even with this podcast and other people with forms of, I've been kind of looking at things like this as social media, but it's really journalism.
Oh,
and you said it best when you just said, like, you got to mirror what you see, and that's what journalism really is.
Yeah.
Is just recording what's out there and showing the audience. You know what I mean? And it's, I find it hard not to share too many opinions of what we think about on here.
That's what's hard, man.
And I but still want to be influencing the direction of the motorcycle scene or what you're in love with, like that.
Yeah, I mean, really with Hot Bike, I had to bite my tongue a lot, and I had to, it's owned by $1 billion a year Swedish corporation. I couldn't be out there with my middle finger and my pants down, all fucking drunk and fucking around. I had my fair share of issues with people, and it got back to the corporate entity that I worked for, but like, a lot of it's just biker shit, Yeah,
there's no way you can run around this scene for 10 years and not have a, just issues,
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean
everybody's got.
You're not going to see eye to eye with people.
And a lot of people get pissed, it's, I don't want to come across to a lot of people, but it's what I could have done for them.
Yeah.
And then, you see, like, now that I'm over that Hot Bike and I parted ways, like, a lot of people don't talk to me anymore. Mm-hmm. A lot of people still do, but there's just people that, whatever.
Yeah.
And I understand that, man. Everybody's trying to push their agenda, especially now, what you're doing with your deal. And, you're going a positive route, but there's other people doing their thing. And, it's a hard thing to navigate.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that everybody can pick up a little bit of gear for under $1,000, start their own podcast, start their own social media entity. I like that. I like being able to fire up my phone or my computer and seeing all the cool shit people are doing.
Yeah.
And what the cool shit people are making, the cool shit people are selling, like just to see, and there's a lot of cool guys still in the scene, and there's a lot of shitheads.
Well, like there's with doing all this stuff, it's crazy because like we're like me and my brother are just shop painters, and but we've been so ingrained into this motorcycle industry for so long, it's hard not to have opinions. And what I'm learning on this is less of my opinions and more of like the who I'm talking to, right, and like their story and their opinions. So I think I've already used enough of my space.
It's really cool, like it's good that you're able to see that early on in your journalism career.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't. A lot of people get a little bit of fucking fame or attention, and that shit they get sideways. And they're short timers in this deal, and what's cool about what I'm doing now, starting my own media circus, is really I can be a lot more middle finger in the air, a little more fuck you than I was working for a corporation. And I like that, my life has never been easier than when I learned to say the word no to people. I was at Hot Bike, I was always like, yeah, man, hopefully we can get your bike in. Yeah, hit me up. And that I found pissed more people off than anything. Because you give them a little bit of hope, and you're not just,
it's gotta be
it's a
tough,
hard
though.
Deal. Yeah, and people are like, why? And I'm like, well, look at you. Like, your bike is pretty rad, but it's got stock rotors and brakes on it. Like, I'm knocking these two dudes out of this magazine. Even when the magazine was 12 time, there was 5 bike features. 5 times 12. I don't know the math, but that's not too many bikes when there's a ton of bikes in the world now.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean,
and you go to one show, and there's 30, 40 bikes, right, or one FXR Dyna event,
right,
and there's 100 FXRs, and
it's
then
hard.
Yeah, I can see how that could.
And people take it personally because they pour their lives and their money into their bikes, man. And it's not, it's not my deal, like, sorry. And, but, and another thing is I used to always profess to people, like, when the magazines were huge, and now, print media just sucks. It's going down the drain quicker than anything. But I was like, nobody gave a fuck if their bike was on a website. Everybody in the fucking world wants their shit in print and on the cover. And it's like, come on, man. Like, that's a 1 in a million fucking deal. That's like winning the lottery now, especially, with Hot Bike 6 times. And I think, the horse is like 4. And I don't know what the other ones are. But like, now it's like, nobody's looking at that shit. Nobody's watching. Like, everybody's like, well, hey, can you do a video on my bike now? And this and that and the other. And so with the new thing I'm doing, Vtwin Visionary, it's more based in reverse of what Hot Bike was. Like, Hot Bike was feature bike heavy, and what the bike was when it was done, and the guy's story about how it came together, which is usually never correct because they leave out guys they don't like building the stuff along the way, or they wanted to seem like they were building shit, like all that stuff. So with Vtwin Visionary now, it's about the builders, the painters, the guy that fabs up the parts, the guy that makes the wheels. Like, it's all really featuring those guys ahead of everything else. Of course, there's going to be, new products of the day and new gear and all that other stuff that everybody wants to see. But like, pretty much with that stuff, on the website and the social media, like, it's going to be really product intense and people intense.
Well, that's really awesome that you're doing that, because I literally just talked to, I did a podcast with TBJ up there, and we were talking about this, and it's like, I love the fact that guys like Danny at Dixon and Rusty Butcher and all these kind of more apparel type companies are so rad and big.
Yeah.
But I also, man, I miss the days of seeing people that were pouring their heart and soul into building bikes getting that kind of love and attention.
Like, you're talking to Brian at TBJ, like, that dude is I don't even know if we're talking anymore or whatever, dude, but like, who knows? But like, I love that guy. I love all his styles. Like, man, Brian, if you're out there, call me. I love you.
Yeah.
But seriously, like that dude was one of the guys early on in my professional career that was a game changer. All the bikes that he built, like everybody's just finally getting to where he is now.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head right there, because I'm really interested in choppers right now, but I'm also big into, I love the Dyna FXR scene, so I'm like seeing some guys kind of blend them together a little bit, and I'm digging the shit.
That homeboy was doing that over a decade ago.
Exactly. And you know, and I'm like, I knew of the dude, and I've said this in our last podcast, but I knew of the dude, and I knew he was out there, but I was just like, why haven't I been seeing this guy? Like, why hasn't he been on the radar? And you know, and we had a long talk about it, but yeah, I mean, he's fucking rad, and that's
the thing about him is unfortunately, with his designs and everything, he's just a tiny bit above in front of the curve.
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy people are like, oh shit, what the fuck is that he's riding? And then, you know, a year later there's some other dudes that have it, and 2 years later everybody's got it.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's kind of why I want him to be. I was telling him, like, dude, just go hard right now on social media, because you built this shit 10 years ago, and I think it's coming now. So just show it. Just show him, like, hey, dude.
But I mean, he's got his own deal and his agenda, and he's a good dad. You know, like, that guy's got other things.
Yeah, he's got his shit well
that he thinks is more important, which is good.
Yeah,
you know, it can't all be bikes.
But see, that was the big point, though, man. And not to, like I said, not to take away from all these guys, like, you know, the Manic Crews and the Rebel Reapers and all these people that are making cool apparel for, you know, all those fucking biker dudes. You know, that stuff's cool. I just. It does bother me when those dudes got more clout than the dudes that are building the bikes.
Well, it's easier to slap a shirt in a box and get it out than to try and off-bike somebody or parts. You know, that shit costs hundreds of dollars, and you know, I do like seeing all these clothing companies come up, and because, you know, back before it was just event shirts, Sturgis, Laughlin, you know, Rot Rally shirts, or what you bought at the Harley dealer. Yeah. Now you can kind of express yourself, which is weird for me, man. Like, everybody that knows me knows I wear plain black shirts with no printing on. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll wear a hat with a logo on it, but like, unless it's my company, then I ain't gonna run a shirt. I just feel weird about it. Like,
yeah, especially like I said, when you were having that role of a gatekeeper, it's like. Yeah.
No favoritism.
One shirt or one backpack or a hat with something on it. It's like, it's easy to be like, oh, this dude's on team this. And team that.
Then I've gotten pigeonholed with that a lot. You know, well, fuck that guy. You know, he's not going to put my fucking bike.
I gave him a hat too. He's not wearing my hat.
Right. Yeah. Or even like, that fucking guy, you know, such and such must suck his dick because his bikes are in the magazine and blah 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 blah. You know, I'm like, hey man, whatever you think, I really don't give a fuck. Yeah. You know, you have to really at that point where people are your friends one day and then not for some reason you might not even know about, just their feeling of you fucked them over or this or that. And dude, I've gotten in fistfights over it. I fucking punched out a couple weeks ago for that. And that was when I got fired from the fucking magazine. Like, it was a whole deal. Like, you know, I was like, dude, I don't work there anymore. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? But whatever, dude, you know?
Yeah, that's what sucks, man. Like you said, you just said it right, man. It's there's only 5 times 12 features, right? There's 12 covers. There's, you know, like I saw you know, you built up this FXR scene on a national level and really tried to show the light on it. And then, you know, obviously when you did it, you get a lot of fucking, you know, dudes that you want to get in the magazine, but you can't just do all of Hot Bike as FXRs. Right. You know, so it was cool when you did that one magazine and tried to put as many of those as you could in it. But I understand, like, having your hands tied between the corporate world and the ground dudes that you want to show light on, but you just didn't have as much. I mean, you'd have to put out a fucking book a month, man.
Right. It'd have to be 300 pages again, you know, and nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard part, man. That you know, a lot of people aren't buying the magazines, and maybe as well, like, you get so, you know, you can only put 5 out, and let's say 2016, there was fucking a gang of badass bikes that you wanted to get shot, but you really can't put them out until the course of the next year and a half.
And I mean, that's why a lot of those dudes went to other places. I mean, like, if you look, there's panel painted Dynas on the cover of American Iron now. That's like the weirdest shit to me, because they were like always like, no offense, Buzz, but there was always like, that was the magazine. There was baggers and Softails and choppers and kind of everything, but it always had that East Coast vibe. They're always kind of weird looking. And then now, you know, there's a lot of good photographers that I used to work with that are working there now, working with those guys now, and it's cool to see that scene. You know, of course I was pissed at first, but it's cool to see like that be national level and world level, you know, and to see that, you know, all these dudes doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, man, it's super easy to get caught up, and I'm not going to say that I haven't. I know that I've been like, man, like I've really want my bike in there and this, that, and the other, and it's kind of hard not to feel that way. But, you know, like taking a step back and really having a conversation about it and like really looking at the dynamics of all the different shit, it does look like, fuck, man, like the hands are tied, this and that.
Definitely, dude. And it's something that you pour your heart and soul in. And I mean, how many times you've come in contact with a dude that thinks his bike's crazy insane, and it's like the biggest shit box.
Yeah.
And he wants you to paint it, or he wants you to come over and look at it. Like, I get that shit, you know, daily. You know, and I would get, you know, I still get emails on my thing I'm doing now, like 6 emails a day about dudes with their bikes, which is cool. I mean, what's great about it is, for me, with Vtwin Visionaries, we are going to have a print product. It won't be a magazine. It's going to be a hardcover book. It'll be, this year there'll be an annual, and then we'll probably do 2 next year. Yeah. And it'll be print on demand. So, like, if you want to buy a $15 floppy covered one, yeah. If you want to buy a $40 hardcover one, yeah. If you want a fucking gold-plated plastic, who knows, $100 one, you can get that too. Yeah. And I don't have to have a warehouse full of magazines. Like, yeah. And that'll be like more evergreen content, feature bikes, guys, things.
You know, I've said a lot on this podcast because, like I said, I'm a huge fan of magazines, but I've always thought, and of course I'm not trying to tell you to do your job or anything, but like I've always thought that like those dice magazines and those show classes and just kind of having, you know, less of the ads that are, you know, not relative to what I want to see, you know, like the Harbor Freights and the motorcycle attorneys and all this type of shit. You know, and have like ads from like companies that are active in the industry that are selling products and selling shit that you want. You know?
I've been talking to a couple really cool companies that just want to sponsor the whole book. Yeah. So they have an ad in the front, ad in the back, and there's nothing else. Yeah. You know, and I'm trying to work that angle. But to be able to do this with the print on demand, it works well for not being jammed full of ads. Yeah. Because I don't need to print something. I don't need to ship it. I don't need to put it anywhere. Like, I just put it up in a PDF, and you press a button, and you download it, and it comes to your house in 2 days. Yeah. I think that's a really efficient way. It is. You're not killing trees. You're not, you know, the magazine thing it's so weird. Like, if you don't know about what sell-through is and buy pads and all this other shit, like, every magazine that's in an airport has to pay to be in the airport. So you're already losing money, and a buy pad is your spot on the newsstand, and there's different ways you can manipulate it. It's been, you know, exploited every which way by guys that went to college and have, you know, triple-digit jobs. At a $7.99 magazine, what do you think, once you break it down to the magazine, what is actually going in the pocket of the actual? You know, now what's great, there's a thing called sell-through, and it's what actually sells compared to what goes back or what gets trashed. Yeah. And it used to be like, if you had 30% sell through, that's awesome. Yeah. Then it was 20. Then it was 17. And I don't even know what it is now. Like, it's fucking stupid. Yeah. And so you're printing, killing trees, wasting gas, driving these magazines around in UPS trucks or big shipping trucks. It's the most inefficient thing ever. Yeah. When you can literally fire up your iPad and have the same thing on it. Like, I love magazines. I love getting that paper, holding it in my hand while I'm taking a shit, read it. Yeah. You know, hanging out at the airport, reading it, or on a plane. Like, but those days are coming to a close. Yeah. You know, and who knows if they'll ever come back or not. I mean, records are back. Yeah. Amazon, I heard, is opening a bookstore after they killed them all. Yeah. Like, it's the craziest shit ever. Like, who knows? It's just monopolies. They're just trying to own it all. Right. There's something nostalgic about holding a magazine. And, you know, like I said, your idea of having a book, you know, which is it really going to be an actual book? Well, you'll be able to pick if it's going to be like a magazine. Like how you want it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. However you want it, you can order it. To me, that would be dope as shit because, you know, over time, especially if you're doing it, like right now you're doing annual and then you do twice a year. So you'll probably be able to put more content in these books. A ton more. You know, than normal magazine. They won't be filled with ads.
And then you stick them on a shelf, you know, whether it's your house or your shop, and it's easier to go through them and see like, okay, man, check out what they did, you know, first half of 2017.
Right.
And then, you know, look at all these cool ass bikes and shit like that. And I think that's a fucking rad idea.
I mean, I'm really taking it from the side, you know, the side of the toilet to the coffee table.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Nice.
With it.
Nice.
You know, it's cool. And I mean, you know, it'll be able to be something that somebody can look back. You know, I always look at all the Japanese magazines, and they're super rad.
Yeah.
And that's evergreen content because they're not like this event here or that event here. Like they do a little bit of that, but it's always so bike intensive. Mm-hmm. And I really like that, you know, less seen. So like, you know, when I worked at the other magazines, it was always like I would look at stuff like copies of Street Chopper from the 70s and even early hot bike, and I was able to kind of discern like the content that looked shitty and made the magazine look dated as compared to stuff that was still rad. Mm-hmm. And I mean, with Street Chopper before its untimely demise, you know, when I brought that back and made it thick and pretty, like you can open that up and not know what year it is, and it could be from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s now. Mm-hmm. And that was really, you know, they call it evergreen content, you know, whoever thought that up, whatever. But, you know, that's what I'm really aiming for online and in the print product of Vtwin Visionary.
Well, you know, that it's smart that you do it because we've been talking, you know, like we talk about this all the time. It's just a matter of like, it was up to the magazines to find a way to stay relevant. Mm-hmm. You know, and yes, it does suck that the internet came along and social media came along, and now, you know, we build a bike and it's blasted on the line before it even gets to the show. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So there's an instant content. So we were always talking about how nice it would be to be shown in it from a professional light, because a lot of us aren't professional photographers. A lot of us aren't professional writers. So our story might sound good, you know, shooting the shit, but, you know, you get someone that knows how to jazz up those words and put periods and commas where they go. And next thing you know, you got a good story along with some good photos, and now you want to look at that because you're not getting that content on you know, Instagram as much as, you know, as you might. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily, you know, with you can even do that with the website, and that's really what I'm concentrating on with the website. Is when we do a feature bike, it will tell the story, but it won't be like a tech manual on the bike.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I really liked about Dice back in the day. Like, they'd write a fucking story on the bike, and it had nothing to do with the bike or the guy. It was just, you know, Dean and Matt would just write some crazy story.
Yeah.
And I loved that. Like, it kind of went back to, like, Thrasher magazine for me and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that. I mean, I'm not going to go that far. Like, you'll get some info, and it'll be, you know, mostly the story about the people behind how the bike, like I said, and then a spec sheet of every single thing on it, even spoke nipples, you know what I mean? So guys online can know exactly what is going into that bike.
Yeah, and then it's also too, like you said, like making sure these dudes are not like trying to cut out dudes just because for whatever reason, you know, it's like, no, it's just a matter of showing people what took place, you know. And just
I've always gotten emails after the fact. You ran that bike, and I built that, and he just had it repainted, and blah blah blah. And you never know who to fucking believe. Dude, you know. So, you know, kind of stick with guys that are honest and guys that have really cool bikes. And you know, what's cool about the internet instead of a magazine is anybody that hits me up, as long as the bike's not a total piece of shit, I can put it online. You know, it's just a matter if it's going to be online. And a lot of guys like bikes that are piles of shit, rat bikes.
Yeah,
I mean, they need their respect too. I'm not discounting anything. I'm just saying, like, the internet's open 24/7. I can always upload a photos, 5-10 photos, and then a story with the dude. Like, anybody out there and online can hit me up on my Instagram and, you know, all the other stuff. If you got a bike, DM me a photo, man. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about the internet. You know, and as far as, you know, with the print product and the annual book, like, it'll be a year in review. This is what a deal is. This is kind of what went down. You know, it's not going to say year review, all that stupid shit, but, like, it'll be something that's fulfilling if you're going to spend $20 to $40 to buy this fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's really cool. And, you know, a lot of people are really behind me on this project, and it's really cool, you know. And, you know, I'm going out of pocket on this, you know, nobody's throwing money at me now, and, you know, even though, you know, I'm getting a few people want to advertise, which is really cool. The website will be up probably, I keep saying June 1st, but it'll probably be mid-June. I'm hoping before Born Free. Mm-hmm. And then the social media start cranking too, and we're gonna be doing some cool stuff.
I saw the social media. It's like you got like 200 something followers now, 0 posts, and not doing it.
Yeah.
It's just people know it's coming.
I
right?
mean, we're gonna have some.
Yeah.
We're gonna have some. Everybody has these contests to bring awareness to their social media and have followers, but there's gonna be no contest like the one we're doing. It's gonna blow people's minds.
That's
like
cool.
Everybody will be on our shit.
Nice.
Yeah, just for what we'll be giving away. Like, it's crazy. So, working with one of the best people in the industry on that right now. But it's pretty cool. I mean, we can talk about Vtwin Visionary all day long, but I mean, also I'm doing marketing, social media, and PR for a few companies as well. I'm doing independent marketing like I did in the bicycle industry.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to do that again. Working with a few really cool core companies that I liked as an editor. I got along with the people as an editor. I mean, I've had a lot of people hit me up since then that I didn't like their products or their way of doing business, and I've refused. I refused more work than I've got.
Isn't it funny? Damn, I just lost my thought. I had a good point about it, but I lost it. Man.
No
Sorry.
problem. I mean, and that's the thing, being able to pick and choose. Of course, I'm not making anywhere near the money I was. I'm living hand to mouth right now, but I'm starting something, and it's honest, and it's my deal, and people, understand. I had people, DM me like, "Hey, man, where'd you go? Is there any way we can work together?" I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny. Like, I made a decision. I had a phone number for 10 years at Hot Bike, and I got like 3 or 4 phone calls like, "Oh man, really sorry you got fired or you left Hot Bike," but whatever the story that everybody has. But hey, is my bike still going to be in there?
Wow.
And I had like 4 or 5 of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck this, man. I'm getting a new phone number."
Yeah.
So DM me, fools.
Yeah, that would suck, man. Like I said, it does suck. But I'm glad people are hearing this though. That's what I want people. The most thing I want them to know, like, not a sob story, but
No,
just know, like,
not.
man, that it's tough being that gatekeeper. It's tough trying to.
It's just tough to navigate that.
Yeah. So, and then even now, it's like you're gonna have companies that you clicked with better. You know what I mean? And you dug their products better, and you like the working environment of the people that are involved.
Right.
So, like you were just saying, how you're using, you're going to market with these companies. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's any of us. Like, sometimes the products, it does suck. Sometimes people have cool products and they're dicks and they're just not whatever.
Yeah,
or
you don't want to work with them.
Or you have someone that has this coolest dude in the world, but his product is just like, man,
I had that too. I mean, there's been a lot of people I've had conversations with about working for them, and it's been I don't know how to really say this. Like, they've been trying to use their money to get me to like their products and market them because I didn't like them when I was a professional editor. And there's no way I can do that with a good conscience. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care how much money it is. Like, you're not going to sway my decision on your products based on hiring me as your marketing guy now. It just doesn't fucking work that way for me.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, even for me, I've had people that people I've known for a long time that would want me to come work for them and rebrand their company and kind of take I like to ride bikes across country and pound miles kind of attitude and make it work with their trailer mentality.
Right.
And I've opened I was open-minded to it, and then I went and sat down with them and I was like, all right, we got to cut this and this. It's got to be gone.
Right.
Well, that's what made us. And I'm like, well, that's why you're not
That's
cool.
why you're a mid-grade company.
Yeah, and then you get those kind of things where it's like you don't want to step on. It's kind of like the telling someone how to raise their kids and running somebody's business. That's a hard thing for some people to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, the companies that I work with now, they're companies that make some of the highest quality stuff.
Yeah,
but they are from the company or the owner or the people that work there. They're from other parts of the motorcycle industry, whether it's motocross or street bike or whatever. Like they've all been around for a lot of time, and they make a great product, but people don't know about it.
Yeah, so they need someone like you to basically bridge the gap between the Vtwin market.
And they don't know the nomenclature. Like, they don't know a Dyna, an FXR, or FXRT, a P. You know, they don't know an FXDX, FXDXT. Like, you know, I can keep going. You know, they don't know that. And as soon as you start throwing shit out on the internet with bad or incorrect nomenclature, you're gonna look like an idiot, and nobody's gonna buy your shit. And I mean, that's where I really shine as far as that. I mean, because I know where those products came from, or this, like, my girlfriend works for First Manufacturing. They make leather. They've been making it for 30 years. Nobody knows. The stuff's the really high level, but I got her the job there. Aaron, who runs the place, and it's a good friend of mine, and I've always liked the product. I've reviewed the product for years, at the magazine and everything, and it was just a good fit for her to become the rep. And but it's funny, like,
too.
She's number one rep in the world for them, and it's just pretty cool to see all this stuff go. But like, here's the deal, like, I'll be out with her and she'll be talking about the leather, and I'll just be like, because I know it. And people are like, do you work for them too? I was like, no, but I've reviewed their stuff forever. Yeah. And I like their stuff. So, I mean, it's just really cool to be able to help her out.
Yeah, I think that's a cool dynamic. Like, to be able to share, like, your old lady's also in the scene or the industry with you, but in her own, path.
She's got her own deal, man. Yeah. She gets in her own car and splits, or, when we go out, we're going to Arizona next week. So we're going to take the van and go out there and work on the Milwaukee-Eight FXR. And then she's going to sling some leather out there. And I mean, it'll be cool. It's just a matter of.
I think we were all thinking about a Milwaukee-Eight and FXR, but how that thing is looking so sick.
Here's the deal. Like, it's a pretty long story now that, I don't work at Hot Bike anymore, and it's still a Hot Bike project. I've got a couple lingering projects with them, which, I work with Jordan, who's the editor of Hot Bike now, and then the crew over there. I still work with them, and I actually still work with them on the Hot Bike tour, which we'll get to a little later. But this bike is being built by Danny Wilson, a.k.a. Motor Witch. He's a good friend of mine. He's one of the most talented bike builders, and he's the Rain Man with Harleys. Like, the guy, he's been to every training session. He's been all over the world training other people.
Wasn't he up north and then he came down to like the Phoenix area?
He's from Orange County.
Okay.
Then he moved to Phoenix, got married to a great woman named Rocky. And he actually worked for Harley as an independent guy for their emerging markets. So, he's been all over the Orient, Southeast Asia, all that stuff. He actually got me to go to Saigon to ride Harleys and visit the dealerships. But I mean, that guy, he's forgotten more than 50 other techs will remember about Harleys. Like, the guy is just so cut and dry. And that bike, we just discussed it, and I was just going to put a 124 in it, and then he was going to, he was just back, and I was like, just use my bike. It'll be a Hot Bike, and, we'll do a story on building a 124, FXR, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, nope. He's like, I want to put a Milwaukee-Eight in it. He built for the Hot Bike Tour last year a pretty dope bike. It was like everybody kept calling it FXR 5. And he took a Road King and stripped it all down, a Milwaukee-Eight Road King, stripped it all down. But his whole deal is he wanted to put one in an FXR chassis, which sounded all well and good in the beginning.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, it should be easy. Other people, it can't be done. Luckily, he's not like a big fabricator guy. So in Phoenix, of course, is Justin from Torch.
Yeah.
And Big Chris from FXR Division. And I mean, anybody that knows Justin at Torch knows that dude can fabricate fucking anything. The guy's one of the best. And Big Chris too. Like, that dude's, he's built and ridden more FXRs than anybody.
Yeah.
So I mean, we kind of all got together on this deal. Danny's building it, the fabrication. So it's kind of this team of people making this happen. And it honestly needs to be that way, because it's not like a twin cam swap where you cut the thing out or you get an oil pan. Like, it's a complete job.
Yeah, I've saw that. You had to trim the lower part of the backbone.
Yep.
Then there's that brace on the very back of it, like behind the transmission.
Yeah, there's a brace back there. There's braces on the down tubes. We used Chopper House
mounts
and cut them all up, and I mean, it's,
so the power plant is just much larger.
It's a lot larger. I mean, when you look at that frame, like just the one side, the non-primary side just sticks out so far. It's crazy.
I even thought they made like the primaries a little bit more narrow on those.
They did, but the motors, is so big up top.
Yeah.
And then of course, there's the oil line that runs on the top.
That's true.
Which
that's what I forgot about. Is that right there? Yeah.
I mean, we're fortunate to Harley Davidson was kind enough to give us. I think Danny gave them 6 pages of part numbers, and they were definitely nice enough to partner with us on this as the major partner. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's still a hot bike, and now it's partially a Vtwin Visionary bike, and I've been writing the features for hot bike. Like, I when I left there, I wasn't at all happy about it, but I still like working with those guys. I got a lot of friends over there, and I still, you don't work someplace that was your labor of love for 10 years and just shut the door. So you'll be seeing me a little here and there in hot bike. But this bike is kind of snowballed. Now it's, we're using Jade affiliated custom 13 spoke wheels. Mm-hmm. Just everybody in the world's lending a hand. We're going to use, the motor is going to be the bike will be born free with a stock motor, but it will be ridden on the hot bike tour this year, and it'll have a bunch of performance work done to it. We really can't talk too much about it, but Danny's also working at a company called Leading Edge, and they build NASCAR motors, trophy truck motors. They turbo razors, like. It's a performance shop for everything.
Yeah.
Some, they got, over 1,000 horsepower small block motors that are worth like $300,000 for trophy trucks. Like, these dudes know horsepower.
Yeah.
So Danny's working with them, designing some crazy stuff. He's working on deleting that oiling system up top on them. It's got a new rotating assembly. Like, the crank's all different. The rods are all different. So I really can't talk much on it. But the Leading Edge thing, they'll be hitting the ball pretty hard. Coming into Sturgis and later on this year. So It's pretty cool. But yeah, that'll be cool. And the numbers I've been told are on the motor will be crazy.
Yeah, I feel like the platform is like amazing. Like, it's a good platform. It just needs a couple years of just.
It's already been a couple years, and the matter is, a lot of the aftermarket's catching up. But I mean, anybody that's just put a custom exhaust and an intake and tuned it a little bit, you get big numbers out of those motors. And I've always liked them. I mean, as soon as I rode, it rode like a heavily modified Evo. Like, if the power came on more like an Evo than a twin cam. And, I always joke with people, like, the Milwaukee-Eight and Evos are like 2 strokes, and the twin cam's like a 4-stroke, the power way it comes on, all stuff. I mean, it's not correct, but it's jokingly
it does feel that way, though. Like, I feel a lot more close to, like, it has a way more bottom end torque kind of thing coming on than the twin cam. So that's why I've been like, when I got the bike, when I got that bagger, I was like, man, it's kind of fast, and then I was like, exhaust. I haven't done anything inside the motor, so I haven't really tapped the potential.
You put a cam in there and do a little work. They're solid bikes. And the bagger platform, it's a heavy bike, and it gets it to move. But
it does.
You get on one of those new Softails, man, and it's
crazy.
It's amazing.
But no, I think that's badass that you are doing it, and who knows, man. 2-3 years from now, I mean, you work out all the kinks and you figure out the install kit. It's just gonna be putting like LS1s and goddamn old trucks. You know what I mean?
We've been approached by a couple of frame manufacturers to have them make a frame. Harley's looking really, really hard at this bike. They're asking a lot of questions. They're pretty. Their ears are perked up. Their eyes are wide open to see what we're going to do with this thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that there's an FXR coming with a Milwaukee-Eight from the factory, but we'll see. Only time will tell.
They need to do something because.
Yeah, I mean it's Harley. They're going to do what they wanted to do, what they want to do, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and. We think we know everything, and I was around in 03, 04, 05 when there was T-Sports that they couldn't fucking sell out of the dealership. And, the bikes are ugly. The bike's stupid. What are those bags? That fairing's hideous. Blah, 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 blah. And then now it's the most coveted bike. That's the way the Sport Glide's going to be in 10 years.
Yeah, that's what we keep telling ourselves. Maybe, there's things about that bike that is definitely dope. I mean, those bags. I mean, if I can get a set of those bags and throw them on my T-Sport, I'll be fucking stoked, But it's just weird, man. It's I think the bikes are definitely good.
They got to get more asses in seats. They got to get people riding those things.
I need to see some cool dudes riding it. Something like, man, I want to be that cool.
They're getting there. You know what I mean? I keep going back and forth. I'm about buying a new bike. Of course, I need a brand new bike for Vtwin Visionary, but I keep going back. Road Glide Special or Sport Glide. I'm not a big fan of baggers, especially living in Southern California and lane splitting. Like, it gets a little gnarly, and it's 1,000 fucking pounds. Like, I could get a Sport Glide and have Race Tech dude cartridges in the front end and piggybacks or a piggyback offset shock in the rear, with on the fly adjustability, and keep those bags and put a T-Sport fairing on it. And
I think that's the only thing about the Sport Glide that really bothers me is the fairing is limited. It
looks like a baby
bars.
street glide, and that's what they wanted it to be,
But as soon as you put another set of bars on it, then you get this weird.
I think there's people gonna be making longer windshields for it.
Yeah,
I've saw a bike in NorCal that already had a longer windshield on it. It looked pretty good.
They need mid controls on it too.
Yeah, I know. It needs a new pipe, mid controls, and it needs a long fender.
Yeah,
that's kind of my shopping list. So Jen at Harley, if you're listening, I'll be coming for you. It's kind of the deal, like. I really like the way that the new bikes ride, and it's really tough for me. Like, I got a bunch of dynos. I got, I'm sitting next to a XR 1200 that's, got a bunch of crazy shit on it. Dope. Like, it's a matter of, do I just buy a bagger and then be calm with it and two up with my old lady on it and use it as a touring bike, and then, Well,
when I got my bagger, I've been riding it more than I was at first, because at first I just did a light modification to it, and my FXR was still on the ground, so I was like, well, I think I'm gonna take the FXR. And I kept doing that and that and that, and then when I sold the tins off of it, now all I have on the road is the bagger, so I'm digging it more.
Yeah.
But realistically, I just miss my FXR.
Yeah.
So it's just. I don't know. I feel like I'm ruined from the FXR.
Everybody that has one knows that,
It's just hard, man.
It is, and I think the brand new baggers are really good.
Dude, I'm not saying they're not good.
1,000 fucking pounds.
They're fucking good. They're fun. They have huge potential.
Yeah.
And what they did with making the bikes blacked out saves so much fucking time.
Man, getting rid of all that flat white Road Glide Special.
Yeah, I started print. What I do now when I do sketches for bikes, since Harley came out those white ones, I just print those out and I sketch right on the white.
Amazing. I love that, man. And everybody's like, well, what would you do if you got that bike? I was like, nothing. Like, seriously, pipe, intake. Like, every bike I have, I've got a fair amount of bikes. And every bike I have is, like, up on the rack, or the registration isn't paid for, or I'm waiting to get this part built. And, like, I just need a bike that I can't fuck with. And when you buy, if I was to buy a Road Glide Special, like I said, it's
you just said you want a bike that you don't want to fuck with or can't fuck with, but it's so fucking impossible.
I know, dude. Everything I got's modded, dude. Like, everybody knows me. Every car, every van, every truck. Like, it don't take long.
It's like, oh man, I'm just gonna put this on. I'm gonna change the seat. I'm gonna do this, and then it's just a barrel roll effect, man. It's hard to have.
There's just so many good products out. So many cool people and nice people making badass products right now. Like, you see all the stuff coming out of Italy. That stuff's amazing. You see all the, like, every time I see Boosted Brad or Bare Knuckle Paul, like, those dudes are building rad shit. And look at Dale Yamada, Mad Jap, MJK, like, that guy's nth level, like,
he just needs to move just south of the border so that we can all have his parts are not, like, I don't feel like they're that expensive, but once you and I'm not trying to give him a bad rep, but once you pay that shipping across that international border, then it's a
bit much. I mean, well, now he's got it set up with drag.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's got his parts in drag, so he's solved that problem.
That's smart.
And and to see, those 3 dudes and a bunch of other dudes. I could sit here and name badass dudes building badass shit for hours. But like, just to see the amount of cool bikes coming out of places that you never did before. You know, to see all these dudes building one-off exhausts. To see all these dudes,
interesting now, you know, because, you know, when you look back at the timeline of the motorcycle industry over the last 10 years, you know, we're at 2018. So we go back 10 years right at when the bottom fell out of a lot of things. And you see the rise of baggers and big wheel baggers and, you know, and then there's always been like guys like, you know, like TPJ that's still been doing his own thing. And then the chopper thing kind of like the vintage chopper thing kind of like, I don't know how big it was then, but it seems like it's skyrocketed over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
At least, you know, to what I know. And then obviously the Dynas and the FXRs and the, you know, with like flat track racing made Sportsters cool again.
Right.
And then, you know, the Dynas, the Willys made people want Dynas, or at least the younger generation want the Dynas and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see where we're going to be at in a couple of years. Realistically, that's what I'm most interested in. Like I'm a fan of all bikes. You know what I mean? Like I dig it all. Like I mean I don't really want another big wheel bagger, but I definitely there's some of them that I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
There's
looking.
some badass ones out there. I mean, I really like what Chris at Epic Motoco's doing.
Yeah.
Seeing that him convert those baggers, the weird years of baggers into stuff. I'm actually working with him on my Sturgis bike build. I'm taking my 200 horsepower supercharged 2012 Road Glide that I have. I'm blowing it all apart and building using one of his Epic Moto kits on it.
Yeah.
And putting kind of different stuff, putting a 49 millimeter Dynafork on it. Right now it's got a 23 inch with a rate kit on it. Like I totally 2013 that thing out back then. You know, it was a hot bike. And it made it worthless. It was 200 horsepower, couldn't turn with that wheel. The rate kit was all wonky. So I got some cool wheels being made by Jade. They look like Skyway Tough wheels, the ones that Chris uses. It'll be a fun bike.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where his vision of that shit goes to. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around like what people are doing and like its place. But you know, he built Misfit, you know, and he took it from, you know, where it was to where it went. I mean, with the help of guys like Moose and stuff, but still he built that, you know. And it's just rad to see what he's gonna do with this, because I mean I know the dude digs bikes. You know,
he is a fucking biker. You know what I mean? Like, you know, despite what happened with Misfit, like nothing lasts forever, man. Especially when you're in the corporate game and you have, you know, competing people with egos. And
it's almost like as soon as you get a semi, you got to start counting the days to when it's over.
Yeah, dude, trust me. It's crazy, man. Like, and I think, you know, to see. You know, you always want the best for your company, and you know, you probably make some deals that you shouldn't have along the way to keep things going in the motorcycle industry, like investor-wise and people-wise, like, and to see him start with nothing again, and you know, just him and Kelly, and just bang that shit out. I mean, it's really cool, you know, and I just like seeing people that you can't get rid of too. You know, like. Some people are like, oh, God, here they are again. I'm not talking about Chris, but just like other people, like, oh, fuck, what are they doing now? And you're like, who cares, man? Like, the dude's a lifelong biker. Like, give him a chance. Like, you know, either he's going to fucking cash out again or he's going to excel. Like, I like seeing that from people, you know? It's
well, I mean, he still has a lot of respect amongst a lot of people. I mean, like, DA's still, I mean, a lot of people are starting to reach out and want to do his product. But I think a lot of people from the bagger industry are looking for something more exciting now. Like, they've, you know, those customers, you know, we all have those customers that build a couple bikes over the course of 5 years. Well, those dudes have already had a 30, a 26, a 32, a turbo, of this. Like, what's the next gimmick for the big wheel thing? And I think that it's not played out or washed up, but it's pretty ran through right now. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of things that have been done. So right now, I feel like you know, kind of like what the chopper thing did back in the day. It went where you had like really cool shit people were building. And then it went really fucking over the top.
Super disco and horrible.
And then those kind of guys kind of, you know, that shit wasn't popular anymore, so they fell off. But then right after that Orange County shit, you had some people that were building some super clean bikes still.
I mean, like all, you know, that's why Born Free happened. You know, there was so many people building traditional choppers. And, you know, Mike and Grant and Harpoon were like, hey, man, you know, let's do a small little show. In a parking lot in Orange, California, and next thing you know, it's that and Moon Eyes are the two best shows in the world. Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's great to see that hard work paid off. Everybody's like, oh, they got lucky. They did bullshit, dude. Those guys sweated blood to get that thing. You know, like everybody does. Events are horrible.
They were visionaries.
They're the worst thing ever to try and do. I mean, I've done 5 hot bike tours, and actually Vtwin Visionary will have a couple events bookending it a year as well. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to basically create an event, create a good time. You're a party planner, you're an event coordinator, you're fucking marketing. You're trying to bring a crowd, an audience. You're trying to give these people something to want to do at your show. It's a lot of It's a lot, man. You know, so I get that, and to see how big it's come. I mean, last year was my first year checking it out. I'm still a huge fan of Giddy Up. I think Giddy Up is a badass event, but my only argument was I think Born Free is sick as fuck. I just wish they had one big ass campground that we could all go party at. But I think a lot of people told me that there's just too much politics out here with like clubs and different guys, so it's like getting them all in the same field together. It's not always
that's a problem in
the
California.
nighttime.
Trust me, that's a whole other thing. But I mean, just to see the growth that they've had with, you know, Harley Davidson and you know what we did with the Speed and Style event a few years back when they all used new motors, and then, you know, Chip and Mikey at San Diego Custom really taking the Dyna FXR thing by the horns. Yeah. And then this year, you know, all those guys building the new Softail is pretty cool too. I mean, I can't wait to see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I saw you know, Jay at Fab 28. I saw kind of what he's doing, and might be helping him out a little bit. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that all that stuff's cool, and I get it. I get the purpose of. It's the same reason why me and Mark did what he did on his Softail from Texas Performance. Sure. You know, we just wanted to.
Man, he's a talented guy.
We've been trying to get dealerships to kind of like have the balls of like what San Diego Customs and Quaid and all these other dealerships that you see all over the line. They just, in Texas, we have a lot of like, I hate to say it, but I feel like ballless dealerships that just don't want to step out and like.
They just want to keep selling bikes, dude, and then, you know, have the $1,500 motor close deal, and then just want to do oil changes, tire changes.
You know, and that's cool, but, you know, you when you go into these places, like guys like me and Mark and stuff, you hear them complaining, like, man, we got to get young people in here. Yeah. We got to do this. I'm like, well, dude.
I mean, I've always joked, you know, the people are dyed-in-the-wool Harley people. Like, they have Harley tattoos on their fucking head and shit, and then they buy a bike and cannot wait to get the fuck out of that dealership.
Yeah.
Because the experience at a lot of these places is horrible.
Yeah.
But yet you go to a lot of dealerships. I mean, like Brandon Quaid does at Quaid. Like, it's an amazing experience when you go there. Yeah, it's a dealership, but you get treated really well. You're treated fairly. You want to put bars on your bike. You want to do this. You want to do that. Whatever you want, they can do.
You know, you would think that, like, dealerships, you know, I feel like dealerships also have the responsibility of kind of being the not as much of a forefront or leader as guys that are in the industry building shit and customizing or the magazines, but you also want them to be in tune with the industry, right? And feel like, okay, when you come in here, you know, maybe you're going in there, you're a kid, you're not on Instagram, you don't know anything about Willys. You got people there that kind of have like, man, have you seen what's going on here and this?
To show people, there's like, just a couple issues with dealerships, you know, that 10% thing where they can't have a lot of aftermarket parts. You know, in California, they can't install exhausts or cams or intakes. Like, it's a fucking thing now. Like, and that's kind of prohibitive, you know, and you can see dealers like, well, you know, I really can't do this, or can't do that. And
that's why it's awesome to see them working with outside companies. I mean, they want to sell bikes, and there's no matter what, they're going to sell bikes, and they're going to have people that only want to have them work on it and do stuff like that. But there's no reason why they can't promote scenes with local shops like San Diego does with San Diego. I feel like they do with San Diego Customs.
They've done it in the past, you know, and it works really well for people. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really badass dealerships out there. I've been to, I mean, hundreds of dealerships the world over, and I mean, you know, like Smoky Mountain Harley Davidson is one of the dopest places, you know, and even like there's little tiny ones that you would think are shit boxes on the outside, and you walk in, you know, steel building, and the experience is great. Yeah, you know, it's I don't like generalizing. Yeah, you know, I don't like saying all Starbucks suck and all dealerships suck, but you know, like, you know, by and large, they need to put in some work.
Yeah, I don't feel like, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I just don't feel like poker runs are that popular anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, that age is dying out, you know, like, what do you expect? Like, four bastards are all dying or buying trikes. So I mean, it's a thing, you know. A lot of guys just want to hang out at the dealership on the weekends. I mean, they're packed
It's a place
full
to
of
go.
people.
Yeah, it's a place to
and
go.
they get free hot dogs, and usually there's a half-naked girl washing bikes. So, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just not something for younger dudes, whether they're Gen X, Gen Y, or whatever fucking millennials or whatever they want to call them this week. I don't really whatever.
Yeah.
That's just not their deal.
Exactly.
They grew up doing things. They grew up riding BMX, skateboards. They grew up riding dirt bikes. Going to a dealership and sitting on your fat ass is not what they're into.
Yeah, and looking at a girl you can't fuck, basically.
Right. Exactly.
They probably brought girls that are hotter
Exactly.
with them.
Yeah, they usually do. And to see that dynamic and you need to also remember that the Harley and Indian are both Midwestern companies with Midwestern values, and they like that. Like, you go there and it's like going back in time. There's no design center in California like all the car places have.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, of course they come out here and they're always online, fucking, looking at shit, but like, it's always a few years behind. And then when they try and get ahead with the Softail thing, everybody hates on them.
True, and that's
So, like, no matter what Harley does, they're fucked.
yeah.
And no matter what Indian does, it seems like people like it. And it's funny,
It's just I think people just like to hate.
Oh yeah,
it's
the culture we live in now.
I'm not a huge fan of Indian. I mean, just stylistically, but that one, I don't know which is it. The Scout. The Scout is a sick looking bike to me.
Yeah,
and I like it. I just I'm looking at the price tag of a new Scout, and I'm looking at like a couple of used FXRs
Right.
online.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to justify.
I mean, that Scout is so good. I mean, Maggie and I rode to Sturgis last year on a Roadmaster Elite, loaded with everything. It's a $40,000 motorcycle. Stock, dual climate heated seats stock, heated grip stock, big old screen on it, like tour pack, like that.
Dude, last year at the tour, on the tour, I rode with Morgan and Kerry Hart, and they were both on those things.
Yeah.
And mind you, I'm not the best fucking canyon runner. I mean, I live in Dallas. We have two curves. You know what I mean? But, just seeing those dudes just rip around all those fucking, roads out there in the Smoky Mountains. Like, I mean, I was fourth behind. I think Big Al was holding his own out there.
Yeah.
He was killing it.
Oh, yeah.
And so, seeing those bikes outperform my FXR with all this fancy suspension, of course, I'm not Kerry Hart. I don't fucking know how to ride like that dude does. And
I mean, Big B shreds, though.
Yeah,
like,
he did, yeah.
Those bikes, for it being, a single pivot, one shock rear end swing arm scenario, like, they're amazing. And the motors are, that 111 Thunderstroke is bad as fuck. Like, I mean, I like the Indians a lot. Stylistically, I think from the transmission forward they're nice. From the transmission back, they're kind of plastic looking.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I really like that they're getting away from their heritage of this fenders and the Indian on the crest and that whole deal, and they're just making badass shit.
Yeah, it's like, that style, like Harley got super lucky when they made an FL fender and it still looks cool 100 years later,
Right.
75 years later. That's a rare thing. But, there's a lot of cool motorcycles out there, and I think like what they're doing with the Scout, if they start taking that mentality into their baggers and other areas, I think that they're going to have a dope-ass bike. They just need to let go of it.
I think that they're really, I think the baggers will probably stay the same. I've heard word that there's kind of a mid bike coming, and it's supposed to be pretty badass, really performance oriented.
Yeah.
And then the Scout, like I'll tell you a story about the Scout. They debuted it at Sturgis, and we were riding some Indians around Sturgis, and at the 2 hours before they were gonna debut it to the world, we rode these bikes back to their warehouse where they were housing all the bikes, and nobody was there. The door was open, so we just put the bikes in there, and we saw all the Scouts. Well, I was expecting it to be air cooled and like a Sportster ripoff.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I was told. I saw some drawings early on, and then they flipped the script with that thing. And the first Scout was ugly. Like, the Scout Bobber's pretty nice. I walked in there, and I had my back turned, and I was like, I literally said, what the fuck? These things are horrible. Turn around, and it was 3 top brass from Indian right there. And they knew who the fuck I was. And I was like, oh. And the dude just looked at me. He's like, threw me the keys, and he goes, go ride it. like, mind you, this bike is being launched in front of the world with like Marky Mark flying in a helicopter and all this crazy shit. Like, and I rode that bike and I came back and, it had that big radiator on the front that was cast into the frame. And I was like, man, this thing's like,
it's tough to not look at it with Harley eyes. You know what I mean?
And I did. And man, I rode that thing 100 horsepower stock, aluminum frame, light as hell. I rode it back and I was like, this thing's bad. Like but here's the deal. You can go buy a $7,500 sport bike if you don't care what it looks like, and it's going to outperform a Harley or an Indian any day. So if you don't care about how it looks, do that.
Yeah.
And if you care about, how it looks, then you're going to buy a Harley. And then, Indian has been able to carve their niche in this now. But back then, it wasn't like that.
You brought up a good point that I thought that just kind of came to my head is, I was around in the industry when they were pushing. I thought it was great that they reached out to a lot of companies like Dirty Bird and fucking, all these different people, and they were embracing aftermarket to their brand, as opposed to where Harley seems like they want to not do that. You know what I mean? And, so it's
that's
almost
an inherent problem with the motor company. Is they think their parts and accessory line is all anybody should ever buy or need.
And that's just that's a real retarded way to think when considering that everything that's popular vehicle related is only popular if it has an aftermarket.
Oh yeah, I mean look at SEMA.
Exactly,
like it's a gazillion dollar business. Yeah, and they manage it very well. And they fought to make they fought California Air Resources Board so they can use things like high flow filters in cars and exhausts and things. And I mean, SEMA's doing a little bit with the motorcycle industry now, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, you got to remember these are $1 billion a year corporations, and not all decisions are great, kind of like this, let's kill the Dyna and Sportster and Softail and roll it all into one. Like, that sounded great on paper.
Yeah.
But they still have people hating them for it. Like, if I post up a Softail, it used to be like, I was one of the first people to ride them, and I was one of the first people to tell everybody how great they were, and I practically got death threats.
Yeah.
And, you're talking to a guy that's got more Dynas and FXRs in one spot than most anybody.
Those, like I said, those bikes definitely, they work, but for it, the only way that bike's ever going to be popular is based on the fact of what people outside of the motor company do to them.
Right.
So it's like, that's a very obvious thing for anybody that spends more than 20 minutes thinking about the past Harleys, the current Harleys, and just about any company, So you would think, man, if they just kind of like relaxed and just, embraced it and kind of made a platform that people were going to customize, because that's what you do to fucking motorcycles.
Right.
Then,
Yeah, I mean, I used to tell people all the time, like, the whole Indian Harley thing. I was like, people are like, which one should I buy? Why? What should I buy and why? And I was like, well, here's the deal. If you're going to buy a bike, blow it apart, and customize the shit out of it, buy a Harley.
Yeah.
Because you have a world of options. Mm-hmm. If you're just going to ride the thing and maybe paint it, buy an Indian.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of it. The Indian powertrain is amazing.
It's funny because the Indian's the one that's embracing companies to make an aftermarket.
And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's weird. I mean, it is. I think that I guess the way to put it is, I feel like Indian's marketing is a little bit more 2018, and Harley's still thinking
1977.
Yeah.
It's true. And I mean, Harley, sad to say, I mean, they just had a revolving door on their employees in the marketing department. Mm. And, there was a time when it was all women, and they're selling a product to 95% males, and there's no male in the marketing department to tell them, hey, man, we need more balls. Yeah. And it's kind of, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's different now. But, they still don't. They only use imagery of the dirty biker when it suits them.
Yeah.
But they turn their back on it.
Like I was telling you that last night I was hanging out with the dude Victor Newmark, who, and he was telling me, and I was like, man, so he just gave me a little rundown of some of his history with the TV show. And I never knew this, but Harley never actually sponsored any of that. Like the motor company did. Now individual dealerships did a lot for the show.
In the beginning, no, they didn't. But after a while, yes.
Oh, okay.
They had real good buddy of mine, Alan, runs the Fleet Center in L.A., and there'd always be wadded up dynas and baggers, and I'd be like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, oh, that was one of the Sons of Anarchy guys wadding the thing up again. And I was like, oh shit. So I mean, he never really would say what their involvement was, but I mean, they had the biggest chance. Like, I mean, think about that fucking show hasn't been on the air and it's still huge. And I mean, the only bike that they came out close to besides a DX, which they stopped in 05, was the Lowrider S. Like, why wouldn't they make a FXDA, like Anarchy Dyna, and paint it all black? And they could have made a ton of fucking money.
Yeah.
Instead of everybody buying fucking, you know, fat bobs and you know, street bobs and changing all the fucking shit out. Like,
well, it's you know, you kind of notice in the show, like after the first couple of seasons, you started seeing a lot more baggers on there. Like they were trying to push their.
Well, that's kind of indicative of club guys too.
Yeah,
like more club dudes are riding baggers now than any other kind of bike. You know, not that I'm an expert on clubs, so don't get on my shit about that. But I mean, the dudes I know around LA and Orange County, like most of those dudes ride baggers now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, it was strange. No matter what, you know, like I said, we all want Harley to succeed because, I mean, we're all Harley enthusiasts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. So it's like you want to see. I want to see the competition grow, and I hope that Indians pushes Harley to start thinking more realistically, or at least unveil their grand scheme of things. Because maybe we're just talking out of our ass because we don't really know what, you know, they got some tricks up their sleeves or something.
It's hard though to gauge that because I've been let down so many times by Harley Davidson as far as design wise or just simple things. But then like you turn around and you're like the fucking Road Glide Street Glide specials. Like that's a badass fucking bike, and they can't keep them on the lot. Yeah, you know, but. Yet again, you have to walk past all these new Softails that they marketed completely incorrectly. You know, and you know, and then that whole social media flop when their dudes are pulling them out of those boxes, and every comment was like, "Oh, another rich guy gets a free Harley." Yeah, they were like, "Oh, well, you know, these well-known people, like people don't want to see that, dude." Like, it should have been like,
should have been grassroots people.
Well, it should have been like the top dealer, like, or like the guy who's like. The top service advisor of Harley dealers, you know, and you know, yeah, of course, like a couple dudes, like core dudes. I mean, yeah, like Mark Atkins got one. Yeah. I thought that was badass, and I think of all those dudes,
he's the only one that really.
He's the only one that really did anything on it, and the only one that has changed the perception of that bike more than anybody. Rusty Butcher has.
Yeah, didn't that dude that was Aquaman get one or some shit?
Yeah, and he spray painted it black or some shit. I heard.
Yeah, he's a cool dude from what I've heard. I know a lot of people that know him. He's more into the vintage chopper thing. Yeah, you know, so it's like you give anybody from the vintage chopper scene a brand new fucking, you know, fuel injected motorcycle, and how can you expect them to have the same kind of like?
It's a weird deal, but I mean, you know, they were going off, their marketing department probably was just going off who had the biggest fucking Instagram numbers.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, the concept is good, but you know, maybe.
But when all the comments on your fucking shit is shitty, then it's not
true.
You know, and I think, you know, what was cool is to see, you know, Mark do the burnout in that thing, and Mark be Mark, you know, Rusty Butcher. That definitely helped them with the younger crowd. Yeah, you know, and he does a great job, man. I really like Mark. You know, I've known him for a long time, and I knew him at Fatal, and then when he started Rusty Butcher, and when he used to sell chopper parts at the swap meet. Like, he's a good dude. He's a great self-promoter, and the stuff he makes is cool as hell. Yeah. Like, you know, it's not my style. I don't fucking wear it. You know, I don't wear shit. Yeah. Like I said, I wear a black fucking t-shirt. I don't wear shit draping all over loud graphics, but
I think one of the t-shirts is just going to be solid. Nothing on it. Sell it at dealership shows. Be $25 like for a white t-shirt. Dude.
Exactly. That'd be sell $50 for a white shirt. Yeah. But I mean, there's cool shit like his eat shit hats, and you know, like all that cool shit that the kids like. You know, middle finger in the air. Like if I was 22 years old again, like I'd be on a fucking clapped out dyno with fucking, you know,
just
wearing
running around,
fucking God knows what, and doing shit. You know. And I'm not. I'll be 50 years old this year, dude. Like it's. I got 20 more good years of me to ride, and that's it. Yeah. You know, like I got to make it happen. You know, and and just being able to show people what's up, and I call a spade now, man. If I like somebody, I like them. If I don't fucking talk about them.
I think that's a good thing to do too, because if you do that, maybe people have an issue with you at the moment, like, oh man, fuck that guy, he didn't like what I was doing. But any real motherfucker will respect that, because it's like, fuck, man, yeah, my shit's weak as fuck. I need to go step it up.
Well, I mean,
instead of like falsely giving them that dream,
And you're only as good as your last bike build. Sorry to say, dude. I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, but I mean, that's the way it is. And luckily with what I'm doing now, and I could be more honest to myself, and I could be more honest to the people around me, and the people I know and would choose to support, and other things. It's really cool. And I mean, I can't thank all these guys enough, for like even you, dude, like just being cool and thanking me and wanting to be part of my deal, and having me on your show, dude.
Yeah.
It's really cool, man. I appreciate that. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, when I parted ways with Hot Bike, like, my old lady made me take a month off of work.
When you parted ways, I was coming through LA.
Yeah.
I was literally coming through. I had just left up there, and I was coming through LA, and I did the podcast with Valley Customs, and I was like, man, like, I'm gonna reach out to him. I was like, man, it's so fresh. I was like, man, that just makes me look like a hungry hyena.
No, not at all, man. I mean, I know where you're coming from, dude, and it's all good. I mean, it was time for a change, no matter how it all went down.
Well, it's good that you're still working with them, and because I think that anything, I mean, if Hot Bike sinks or swims, it's still relevant to our industry.
Yeah.
Being good. And
I mean, even my boss and my boss's boss were like, I don't know how it all went down, but they were like, you're the face of the brand. Like, it's hard to see you go. And I'm like, well, it was dollars and cents, like the bottom line. I was making good cash, and, when you're making probably a third of what the magazine's bringing in the corporate world, dude, like, that's not a very good fucking thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm
makes you wonder why they didn't kind of like sit you down in corporate meetings and start figure out other ways of like what you're doing now and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it's funny, and I like I said, man, I like waking up and working out of my house and going and visit. I really like going and visiting my clients and bike builders and painters and get all this stuff going, man. The website's gonna be chock full of good shit. I mean, it's gonna be, even though it's gonna be new, I've literally been fucking jamming it full of content, because I don't want you to get on vtwinvisionary.com and get to the end of the rainbow in like 45 minutes and go, fuck, I'm never coming back.
Yeah.
So I mean, there'll be a bunch of shit on there, like 2 years worth of content on it when we turn it on.
That'd be good.
And then social media wise, I'll be doing that, and having some cool contests, a lot of cool companies.
You still have a lot of connections with a lot of photographers like Subius and.
Oh yeah.
You dealt with John Jackson.
I love John Jackson, man. I actually have talked to him, and I've been kind of like telling all these dudes, Mark Vasquez and a lot of really cool photographers I worked with. I was like, I kind of had to hardline those dudes, I was like, look, fucker, like, I paid you a lot of money for a lot of years, brought you in, and now it's time you got to kick me out with some free fucking bike features because I'm broke.
Yeah.
And they've all been really cool about it, and it's really cool to see, working with Ryan Lockridge a lot, and he's going to be doing a lot of videos with me, and just kind of doing all, like all the product videos I'm doing by myself with an iPhone.
Yeah.
I converted this garage into somewhat of a studio, and that'll be cool too.
Doesn't it feel good though? Like, just like you got this idea, this spark, and now you're kind of like you see it come into vision, and and the support you do get from the people, and just man, it's got to be exciting.
It's really cool. I mean, the unwavering support I've gotten from people has been awesome. Like, everybody wants in on this.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see,
Yeah.
That's what makes me feel warm and fuzzy. It's not just the Vicodin.
Yeah. So, like you were saying, the Hot Bike Tour, which everybody that hears me on here talk about all the time, because I had a great time last year. And, I wanted to build something for it. That was one of the things I really wanted to do. But it's like, you were kind of giving me the Cliff Notes earlier. Yeah.
Well, it's been kind of a weird year for Hot Bike. Like, they're down for 6 issues, shit can me, and, but I am working with the events division of Bonnier Corporation, which owns Hot Bike, and they own the Hot Bike Tour. It's separate but equal, separate but the same, whatever. We're doing the Four Corners this year. It's going to start October 1st through the 6th. We're doing 6 days, and we're doing a loop concept. Usually it's point to point every night. What we're going to do is it's going to start in Cave Creek, Arizona, and we're going to go up through Utah, up through Colorado, down into New Mexico, and then end in Scottsdale, yeah. And it's really cool. So builders will be able to come from wherever they want. They can park their rig safely in Scottsdale, do the ride, come back. There'll be like a 2-day kickoff party. Then we ride every night like normal with a bike show at a dealer. And then we end, and it's 2 days in Scottsdale.
Nice.
Big party, bands, free to show up if you're just going to ride, bike shows, riding bike shows. But we really want people to come out and ride it. And you can go on hotbikeweb or .com/tour or hotbike.com/tour, and it's got all the info. We'll be announcing a bunch of stuff this week, next week, all throughout this month, and
that's cool.
It'll be cool. And it's out west, which is cool. We've always had it in the South. We've always had it like the Great Lakes, and to have it, I think this is as far out west as it'll be. But I mean, some of that riding's amazing.
Yeah, like I was telling you earlier, every year I ride out to California, and this year, obviously I did it in a truck, but I was I like going through Monument Valley, and I didn't get a chance to go through that this year, and so I was like, with this being in the Four Corners, I'll be close enough to it to where I can smash through it and hopefully get some friends to come with us. And I think it's a good idea.
The riding's great, man.
Yeah.
And we're going to have the builders again. Like this year, the invited builders, they're not going to have a bunch of time to build a bike. So I'm just reaching out to guys to bring their Sturgis build, or if they want to build a bike, fine. If they want to build if they want to bring what they're riding now to be judged by, the show. I think
the good thing is that you want to see people riding the bikes and stuff. And I think a lot of people, like customers, want to see shops out there putting miles on bikes.
Agreed. And I mean, everybody wants to see bikes running. I mean, people need new tires. They need oil changes. They need, more comfortable products on their bikes. Like,
some builders need to get out there and ride it so they'll know what to offer customers when they need they're getting their bikes working.
I mean, luckily we're going to be based around the Phoenix area, so there's all sorts of badass builders there. Yeah. There's so many dudes, bunch of unknown guys nobody even knows of who are building badass shit. But I mean, I talked to Cruzy, I talked to, dudes at Ramjet, of course, John Shope. We've reached out to every builder, and we'll just see who shows up. It's kind of a different deal this year. More riding, a lot more riding, more competition of riding, who gets to ride the bikes and all that other stuff. And anybody can come out and ride with their favorite builder. It's kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. So the Vtwin Visionary. So what's like just the cliff notes or whatever you want to say about that? Just
oh man,
we've been talking about it a lot, but I mean,
pretty much the bottom line is it's just going to be crammed full of stuff. Like, I'll be doing a bike feature every couple days. I'll be doing new parts every day, new gear every day, a new tool every day. A bunch of events that I've been to this year since January will be up there. There's a lot of backdated stuff. Like, I've done a lot of already a bunch of cool stuff. Interviews with a ton of builders, fabricators, painters. Like, it's really behind the scenes of the industry. Yeah. Which I'm really down with. Like, that's people cool. that deserve a fair shake in this business are going to get it with Vtwin Visionary. Not just, the pretty bike at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, who's already on top, basically.
Right. There's Instagram, Vtwin Visionary, vtwinvisionary.com. I mean, every sort of thing. Facebook's Vtwin Visionary. So, definitely follow me.
Yeah.
And
you
follow.
Still got your original Instagram, which is Jeff
G. Holt. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so we got the Hot Bike Tour. We got Vtwin Visionary.
My marketing. If any companies need any help with marketing and the Vtwin guys, hit me up. jeffgholt@gmail.com.
Cool, man. Well, I think we got it all pretty much in there now.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Chase.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ciao.